everyone. This article, Towards the Measurement of Food Literacy, is kind of near and dear to my heart. I think you probably heard throughout the other article, like synopsis or whatever you want to call it, Towards the Measurement of Food Literacy with respect to healthy eating. Literacy is the key here. Food literacy, nutrition literacy, health literacy, culinary literacy, kitchen literacy, vegetable literacy. Yes, you heard me right. Vegetable literacy. You would be surprised. So anyway, again, taking a look at how this article is structured and talking about what food literacy is. Now, this is a relatively new article, about 3 years old. And it talks about food literacy, and there's a great scale associated with this particular study. And the scale, initial 50 items, I'm going to actually have you take this 50 item scale and see how you do, just for kicks and giggles. And then we'll reconvene. But as we go through this, taking a look what the background is, the aim of the study should always be in that part of your abstract, and then tell me how you make your cake. The boring stuff is like what kind of survey it is, what kind of study it is, who are your people, how are you going to blend everything together, and then finally how are you going to look at the results. Okay? And then here's what they found out. Okay? In general, at an average age, that's the basic demographics, right? We always want to look at the demographics because the demographics can always give us like that cross-tabulation, or it can give us that linear regression. Anywho, so we're taking a look at that and their conclusions. Okay, what did they conclude from it? Higher levels of food literacy were associated with more self-control, less impulsive, and healthier food consumption. What? Did I read that correctly? The more we know about our food, the better control we have and the healthier food we tend to eat? Whoop, whoop. Okay, so I ask you, food literacy refers to our capability to make healthier food choices. True or false? Let's think about that one. We're going to move on. But I do want to point out a couple things. So, the current food environment promotes ready-to-eat, low-cost foods, etc. and so on. Can food literacy help change our food environment? I also want to point out this. Higher food literacy is conceptually related to better nutritional quality, health, and well-being. True or false? Let's continue on. Here's the next piece. Attention for food literacy and public health programs targeting food literacy have been on the increase during the last decade in academia. This is true. But what I want to challenge you with is how do we bring food literacy to the forefront of all health programs, to our public health? Okay, why aren't we taking a deeper dive into it? And I think this kind of helps answer that question a little bit. But I'd like to hear what you think. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. Again, here's the aim. The aim of the study is to develop and validate a scale. Validate a scale. So if you're interested in doing something in health literacy, food literacy, again, next semester we'll kind of cover this a little bit in greater depth. So keep this article, keep this in mind. Okay? So anyway, let's take a look at the study design. They did a mixed method approach. What does that mean? They had quantitative questions that were backed up by qualitative questions and so forth. Okay? Remember how you define mixed method. And they developed this particular self-perceived food scale. Take a look at the questions connected to the food scale. Okay, going back to what a well-designed mixed method might have in it, it's collecting and analyzing quantitative, close-ended, quantitative, close-ended, and qualitative, open-ended data. It's looking at procedures that use qualitative and quantitative elements either at the same time or sequentially. Okay? So kind of keep that in mind as you read through this particular article, because this particular scale provides validation between the connection of food literacy and health literacy. Oh, what? I know, it's crazy. So I'm going to scroll down and take a look at how they developed the scale. Okay? They did it in a couple phases. I like to do things personally. I'll look at it and go, part one is I want to do, I'll start a scale, then I'll do a focus group. And the focus group will help give me that data. And the data will help, from that focus group will help me to provide a better instrument or validate the instrument or the questions that are in the instrument itself. And that's actually pointed out here. In the first stage, the scale was developed by an expert meeting. Okay? So experts came together, developed the survey first. Okay? And then experts also defined health literacy practices that were not necessarily covered by food literacy domains. What? My head just explodes when I look at this. Okay. And then they come into this area. The experts were asked via email to provide written feedback on the long list by highlighting important items, adding missing items or topics, and deleting and merging non-food literacy items, and emphasizing unclear items. So it was a stage set, so to speak. But let's look at how they recruit. And you can go through, and recruitment is important. But I want to, here it is. What? Online survey consisted of the 50 items that they came up with as an expert team. And here's what they have. What? This is just coconuts. Right? General adult population, 755. 207. In the second sample were registered dietitians or dietitians. Okay? Oh, I probably should go up here because look at this. Scales. Oops, there it is. Scales that they integrated. Okay? Oh, let's see here. Then they went into how they looked at criterion. Oh, there's the linear regression I just mentioned. And then they take a look at the Pearson's correlation. Remember what that is from statistics. Remember these two things, because you can potentially run into it. So I'm going to really go down to the results and take a look at the tables. Always, if you're doing a study, there's the demographics. The demographics kind of provide that context of who you looked at and why their information is important. Okay. Oh, I love Chrome box alphas. That's the nerd in me. Now I'm going to go down anyway. Then, this is what's important, is Table 2. List of domains and items based off the Chrome box alpha. Okay. And literacy. They did 29 items here. Are you able to alter your recipe yourself? Can you? Do you find it difficult to prepare meals with more than 5 fresh ingredients? Do you choose foods that are in line with your mood? Okay. These are questions that, test your food literacy. This one scares me to pieces, by the way. Do you have more than 4 bottles of sugar-sweetened beverages and lemonade with sugar in stock? Yikes. That just scares me. That's a scary one for me. Scary. Okay, so I'm going to, but the table helps you kind of put into context what the results are. Okay, and then really take a look at this table because it goes, and I'll read through this particularly and what they adjust for. Okay, so crude model 1 and model 2, you can see people aren't eating a whole lot of fish. Yikes. Okay. Some numbers are pretty high when they're eating more than 3 pieces of fruit. Fruit's really not that good for you, folks. Some of it is, some of it's not. Thin fruits like raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries. Thin fruits, very good for you. Less sugar. The thicker the skin, the more sugar the fruit has. So I'm going to go down here. and take a deeper dive into, really look at the tables, folks, because they're really going to go, what you're going to like, your mind's just going to be blown about what people are eating. Oh, let's see here. I'm going through. I think this is where I want to point out. Okay. Here we go. Yep. We're looking at food literacy domains and it's associated with unhealthy eating and between subgroups. So are there certain age groups that tend to eat unhealthy? I also want you to point out this. Future research may expand a health focus through self-perceived food literacy measurements, as other food literacy-related concepts like sustainability, trade, economics are important, but not stressed. That's all I got to say about that one. I'm going to kind of go down here. They point out their strengths with this study. They did a large study sample. They had a pretty large study sample. Who did they ever? And what did it say? Additional research is needed to validate the scale of different populations. So could we put this in college students? Hint, hint. I'm looking, and they brought in social media, but I can't remember where I found it. Either way, this kind of concludes my summarization of this amazing article, and I look forward to hearing your dialogue.